Have you ever heard the expression that work-life balance is a complete myth? Sometimes I wonder if it is, and sometimes I'm sure it's not. But we need to work towards balance and sanity that works for me. And what works for me may not work for you. So we're going to share 5 tips on how we can really get the right balance and the right sanity for each one of us. Because it's not one size fits all, and we do need balance and sanity. And the first one is to really look at what your work schedule is. You know, we traditionally work the 9 to 5. I don't, and I'm guessing most of you don't either, but in our head we think we're supposed to. So for those of you that start work at 6:30, you might think, oh, I'm crazy to start so early. Not necessarily. So what is the right work schedule for you? I really wish we did live in that world where it was a 4-hour work week, but we don't. And so we need to have work schedules that work for our life. When my kids were smaller, my work schedule was different than it is now. I was with them to get them in the school to school in the morning. Now I'm more in the office a little bit earlier in the day. So you have to look at the work schedule that makes sense for your commute, for your family, for your children, and for the work that you're in as well. For those of you that are self-employed, it may make sense to work in the evenings. It may make sense to work very early in the morning. For those of you that work with a boss that travels a lot, working your schedule around what their time zone is might make sense. So don't feel the societal pressure to work the 9 to 5 if that schedule isn't the right schedule for you. And don't feel that you need to apologize if you work on a schedule that someone else thinks is not right. My dad thinks I work all the time. I don't. I work a really decent schedule, but he'll call me up in the middle of the day because my office is at home and say, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, I'm working. What do you think I'm doing? He thinks I'm at home. I shouldn't be working. So I don't get into it with him. I don't apologize with him, but my work schedule works for my life. If you can arrange your work schedule to work for your life, that gives you some sanity and what makes the most sense for you. The second thing we need to be really good about, and we've lost over the last 15 years, are boundaries on what we do and what we don't do. I recently saw a statistic for those in the UK, and I have a lot of listeners in the UK as well, that the average person in the UK spends 15 minutes a day working on their cell phone in bed. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a boundary for me. I don't bring my cell phone into my bedroom unless I'm traveling and I use it for the alarm clock. And it's a big temptation to roll over and look at my email. And that's a boundary for me. So what are your boundaries? Maybe if you have a work phone or you're self-employed, you can be available at all times. You say, I stop responding to email after 6 p.m. Whatever boundary makes sense for you. Doesn't mean you're not looking at it. Maybe that's not something you're willing to do, but you're saying, I stop responding. For those of you that work in the evenings, you say, I will not respond to inquiries while I'm in my day job. And so you have to have the boundaries that make sense. They're not just 9 to 5 anymore. And so maybe you say, I will only work 1 Saturday a month, or maybe I'll work only Saturday mornings, or whatever makes the sense to you. So put some boundaries on what you will and will not do. As someone who has completely blown those boundaries in the past, I can promise you that once you start putting some pretty clear boundaries, you get back a lot of balance and sanity, which you'll absolutely need. The third one is to really, about balance and sanity, is to know where your energy gains and drains are. There are certain things that are going to make you feel really good, and there are certain things that are going to make you feel really bad. That might be what you're eating. It might be what you're drinking. It might be what you're doing. It might be the time of day. For instance, there are some people that are really sharp and good first thing in the morning. You know, they like to get up at 4 o'clock. And some people say 4 o'clock is not in the morning. But for some people, 4 o'clock is in the morning. And so that's their energy gain. They work really well early in the morning. But by the time 4 o'clock in the afternoon comes along, they're drained, they're exhausted. Or maybe you're the opposite. You're horrible at 4 in the morning, but by 4 in the afternoon, you're starting to wake up. Or maybe you're somewhere in the balance. So I know that for me, I need to watch the food that I eat, because if I eat heavy at lunch, I have a rougher afternoon. If I eat too much at dinner, I have a rough evening, and then that's taking away my balance from my personal life as well. I know that for me, food is a big part of that. Exercise is a big part. Given a choice, I'll exercise first thing in the morning. Gives me the energy through the rest of the day. My husband prefers to exercise at the end of the day. So that's where he gets his energy from. So look at what you're doing to give you the ups and downs. When is the best time of the day for a meeting for you? It's probably not 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And for some of you, it's not 9 in the morning either. And for some of you, it's not 9 at night. So look at what your energy gains and drains are. Now that takes us to the fourth point, because what I find a lot of people, when they're in a structure that they don't have control over, it's not your business, you're running by the sake of your clients or your boss, they like to put their head in the sand. And you want to drive yourself crazy quickly? Start pretending life isn't happening to you. You have to acknowledge what's going on. You don't have to tell the whole world about it. Please don't go to Facebook and post that on there. There's a fine line between appropriate and inappropriate on Facebook. And your crazy life is not where we need to see that. But you do need to acknowledge it. Maybe you need to acknowledge it with your partner, with a partner, a business associate, with a close friend, with a counselor. Who cares? But don't stick your head in the sand saying, oh, this too shall pass. This too might not pass. You need to deal with it if you want to maintain your sanity and balance. And the final piece is to really remember that life is a marathon, not a sprint. I know we've all heard that before, but I'm not sure that we really practice it. So let's look at we're in this for the long haul. Balance and sanity is 100% within your control. You have to put parameters on it. You have to put your own expectations on it. You have to have your glasses on so that you see clearly as to what's working and not working for you. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in all the panic of life. Allow yourself to take control, keep balance that's right for you and sane. And this week, keep on the right track by keeping calm.